New York State Racing, Pari-Mutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 102 provides that the New York State Gaming Commission shall consist of 7 members, appointed by the governor, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate. 5 members having been confirmed by the New York State Senate affords the Commission an ability to establish a quorum and undertake action. This present meeting of the Commission is now called to order. Ms. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
John Crotty.
Here.
Peter Machete.
Here.
John Paklemba.
Here.
Barry Sample.
Here.
Todd Snyder.
Here.
Ms. Secretary, please have the record reflect that a quorum of qualified members are present, thus enabling the transaction of business. Please also note that two-way audio and visual communications have been established between the 2 meeting locations. Given the absence of a designated chair, would the members like to select someone for the purposes of presiding over today's meeting?
I would like to nominate Todd Snyder.
Oh, second.
So honored. We didn't vote on it.
That's okay, don't vote. May I proceed? Unanimous.
By acclamation.
By acclamation.
Yes, sir.
Let's start with approving the minutes from the November 1, 2016 meeting. Are there any edits or corrections or amendments at this time?
Just one, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
4A, rulemaking.
Yes.
The first paragraph, the commission tabled considered.
Yep, consideration.
To consideration.
Got it.
The record remains intact.
Anybody else? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Approved.
Any objections? Barry, you good?
No.
Okay. Those minutes are accepted.
Excellent.
Next on the agenda is Rob, your report.
Yes, this afternoon I'd like to discuss the opening of Tioga Downs Casino, provide an overview regarding the development of the other 3 commercial casino projects, and also discuss the recent meeting of the Harry F. Zweig Fund for Equine Research. Starting with Tioga, on December 1st, Tioga Downs became the first commercial casino facility open pursuant to Governor Cuomo's Upstate Gaming Economic Development Act of 2013. It opened with 461 slot machines and 35 table games, and will, over the next 60 days, ramp up to full strength of 944 slots and 43 table games. An adjacent 161-room hotel facility is being constructed next door and is scheduled to open in the fall. I would like to acknowledge the incredible effort by commission staff in getting Tioga Downs to be in a position to open. In a relatively short period of time, staff, with the Gaming Facility Location Board, developed the request for proposal, conducted a number of public hearings, shepherded the formal bidding process and application review, supervised and directed the licensing process, and undertook the extensive rulemaking. The speed and quality of the work product is a testament to staff's capabilities, and I think they should be recognized. As to casino development status, Del Lago has a scheduled opening for February 1st, 2017. Casino construction is on schedule to be substantially completed by January 1st, 2017. At present, the hotel is 1 month ahead of schedule and should be completed in June. Slot machine installation is commenced in late November, and approximately 40% of the devices have been installed. As to some specifics of their construction, all paving has been completed and landscaping is due to be completed by the end of this week. The exterior insulation finishing system is 98% complete, and cultured stone is also at 98%. Window installation is also substantially complete. Permanent heat, air conditioning, and power are substantially complete and functioning, as are permanent water and sanitary. All drywall has been completed, and painting, wallpapering, tiling, carpeting, and millwork continues. As to the hotel, exterior metal framing is complete. The exterior insulation finishing system is 98% complete, and the exterior stone is 90% complete. Interior metal framing is underway and is 95% complete on floors 2 through 6. Finally, the parking garage is also substantially complete. Del Lago reports that the project is 100% bid out, and they have executed contracts for the entire project that exceed the minimum spend threshold for the facility. Overall, 1.33 million construction hours have been worked on this Finger Lakes project, with the last month seeing nearly 90,000 hours worked. Rivers also reports that they are progressing on schedule for an opening on February 8th, 2017. If you recall, the building is constructed into two phases. Phase one is the low-rise building and consists of the casino, the back of house offices, the warehouse, the event center, and the garage. And phase two is the hotel building. As to the low-rise, steel and miscellaneous metals are 93% complete. Site work is at 84%, and concrete is at 98% complete. They also report they have progressed and are on schedule in roofing, which is 94% complete, fireproofing, which is complete, framing and drywall at 88% complete, plumbing at 84%, and HVAC at 94%. They also report that the garage is 99% complete. For the hotel, Rivers reports the site work is 67% complete. To date, the Schenectady-based casino project has produced 294,644 man-hours. The hotel, which is 24% complete, has produced an additional 27,700 man-hours. Montrain reports that they have fully completed the mass excavation and are at 80% complete for the site retaining walls, 95% complete with site utilities, 95% complete with the foundations excavation and site grading, 98% complete with the precast concrete structure parking garage. They are also 68% complete with site electrical and underground plumbing, and the structural steel for the hotel is at 86% complete. Overall, construction is at 39% complete and expects to be between 41 and 43% complete by the end of this year. Montrain still expects to open in 2018. Montrain reports during the month of November they expended over 52,000 union construction hours on the work site and have expended over 375,000 hours in all on this project, which is located in the heart of the Catskills. Finally, I want to touch upon the Zweig Fund. The annual meeting of the Zweig Fund was conducted at Cornell University's College of Veterinary Medicine in late November. By legislation, the Zweig Fund receives 2% of all monies accruing to the Agricultural and New York State Breeding and Development Fund and the New York State Thoroughbred Breeding and Development Fund from the state's racetracks and off-track betting. The fund was established to provide for research that helps protect and prevent create prevention planning for the equine industry, which in turn helps ensure a healthy and positive future for horse racing. This year, in addition to administrative matters, the fund approved 8 proposals for a total of $682,404. Such funded studies include functional gene annotation in the horse, microencapsulated stem cells to promote wound healing, 2-day tie-back injection laryngeoplasty, proof of principle, quantitative computated tomography and bone quality assessment for the prediction of fetlock breakdown injuries in racehorses, regenerative approach to recurrent laryngeal neuropathy, and development of a multi-epitomy chimeric fusion protein vaccine expressed as outer membrane vesicles in E. coli against tick-borne pathogen infection in equines.
Can you elaborate on that?
I'll get you the proposal. I think it's, while all the studies benefit the health of the horses in New York, several will provide direct research that will focus on lameness, equine herpes viruses, and fetlock breakdown injuries in race horses itself. It's a very important program that has provided incredible amounts of research by Cornell University, and it just doesn't seem to get the attention that it normally or something of that program should receive, and I feel it's important to at least mention it.
Agreed. Thank you, Rob. New York State Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law 104-19 authorizes the Commission to promulgate rules and regulations deemed necessary to carry out responsibilities. The Commission will from time to time promulgate rules and rule amendments pursuant to the State Administrative Procedure Act. We have 7 items for consideration today. Rob, will you call the first item, please?
Yes, certainly. For commission consideration is adoption of a rule regarding thoroughbred continuing trainer education. Recall that consideration of this rule was deferred at our last meeting to review a late comment received by from the president of the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association. This proposal would require that all thoroughbred trainers, including assistant and private trainers, have continuing education of at least 4 hours each year. The Jockey Club has developed and is offering free online programs for thoroughbred trainers, and the stewards have been providing continuing education programs for interested trainers for many years at New York racetracks. This proposal also includes an exemption for trainers who rarely participate in New York racing, subject to the permission of the state steward. The text of the proposed rule was published in the State Register on September 14th, meaning that the public comment period expired on October 31st. 3 comments were received, one from the president of the Association of Racing Commissioners International, one from the Jockey Club, and one, as I mentioned, from the president of NYFA. The ARC commentator noted that a requirement for continuing education for trainers was endorsed by the ARCI and is contained in the ARCI model rules at section 8020. ARCI also noted that they have been approving, or that they have approved continuing education programs, and recommends that the Commission should allow such programs and other state-approved programs to be used towards satisfaction of the CE requirement. Staff notes that the proposed rule does provide for continuing education courses to be approved by the Commission in order to satisfy the rule. The Jockey Club simply provided a letter of support of our proposed rule. The New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association raised 2 concerns: that only thoroughbred horse trainers are subject to the rule, while standardbred trainers are not, and that there may be a lack of available approved courses. Staff reviewed the comment and believes that existing training programs will readily meet the NYFA concerns. As to standardbred trainers, Commission staff are working on a similar rule proposal. The Jockey Club has 5 free modules presently available and plans on supplementing the offerings. Additionally, on-track presentations by the State Equine Medical Director, undertaken before the commencement of each race meet, and also free of charge, would be appropriate for satisfaction of the proposed continuing education requirements. Coupled, these free of charge materials are enough for 2 years continuing education satisfaction. For those trainers who are located downstate, it's my understanding that Cornell University's College of Veterinary Medicine Ruffian Center for Equine Sports Medicine and Critical Care, located at Belmont, or just across the street from Belmont, makes public presentations throughout the year that we would likely endorse as appropriate for satisfaction of the proposed CE requirements. The State Equine Medical Director intends to use established criteria for the approval of continuing ed programs. According to Dr. Palmer, continuing education programs offered by either the Jockey Club and Cornell University and have equine content will be automatically qualified for approval. Programs that qualify for approval by the ARCI will also qualify for approval. Other organizations will need to submit program content to the Equine Medical Director to obtain approval. Acceptable continuing education topics may include, but are not limited to, equine health, safety, and welfare, as well as small business training, ethical topics, and human resources topics. Creating a continuing education requirement for all trainers would bring knowledge and evidence-based research to an audience that would otherwise generally not be exposed to it. Continuing education for trainers should improve the quality of the horsemanship at New York racetracks and enhance equine welfare. Staff recommends that the Commission adopt this proposed rulemaking as a permanent rule.
Are there any questions about the proposed rulemaking?
I have one. The exemption for trainers who rarely participate in New York. And maybe you can tell me how that is going to play out, because it seems a little vague to me and it seems like there's a lot of discretion there. So what is the term, I guess, rarely participate?
Well, in the text of the rule, we flesh it out as trainers and assistant trainers who are not domiciled in New York and have 12 or fewer starts during the previous 12 months may then apply to the state steward for an exemption to the requirement.
All right, so there's specific guidelines.
Yes,
Okay.
in the text of the law.
And how does that work? They do that, they're going to race in New York, so they have to go to the stewards and say, we want to race a horse in New York, but I don't have the certification for the hours.
Well, anybody,
because
Anybody licensed in New York would be expected to complete the continuing education requirement. So anyone seeking an exemption from that would have the duty to go to the steward and get an explicit exemption to do so.
Okay, thank you. And just to confirm, Rob, a similar rule-making is contemplated for standard breads?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? I may have a motion to adopt the rule?
So moved.
So move.
A second?
Second.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Rob, would you call the next item, please?
For commission consideration is adoption of a technical revision to the standardbred racing rules definition of the term wire, which denotes the finish line of the race. The proposed amendment uses a definition that is more flexible, allowing greater use of technology when appropriate. The text of the proposed rule was published in the State Register on September 21st, meaning that the public comment period expired on November 7th. One public comment was received from the Empire State Harness Horsemen's Alliance. The Alliance, which is comprised of representatives from Yonkers, Saratoga, Buffalo, Vernon, and Monticello Raceway, fully supports the proposed revision. Staff recommends that the Commission adopt this proposed rulemaking as a permanent rule.
Commissioners, are there any questions about this proposed rulemaking? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adopt the rule?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Rob, will you call the next item, please?
For Commission consideration is adoption of a rule regarding alcoholic beverages for casinos. New York Racing, Parimutuel Wagering, and Breeding Law, Section 1340, gives the Commission jurisdiction over casino alcoholic beverage licenses and requires the Commission to regularly consult with the State Liquor Authority or its designee on all licensing and enforcement matters. Additionally, the law incorporates the State Alcoholic Beverage Control Law, the rules and regulations, bulletins, orders, and advisories promulgated by the State Liquor Authority, while allowing the Commission the ability to grant variances to accommodate the uniqueness of the gaming facilities. The proposed part addresses the issuance of casino alcoholic beverage licenses by the Commission, the restrictions and limitations that may be placed on the license, and the duration of the license. The text of the proposed rule was published in the State Register on October 19th, meaning that the public comment period expired on December 5th. One comment was timely received from Capital Region Gaming LLC, the licensee developing Rivers. The commenter suggests revisions are necessary to provide flexibility that would enable host counties to extend service hours. Staff reviewed the requested change and finds it unnecessary. While New York Alcoholic Beverage Control Law generally prohibits sales during certain times, Racing, Parimutuel Wagering, and Breeding Law provides the Commission the power to make, quote, special rulings and findings as may be necessary for the proper enforcement, regulation, and control of alcoholic beverages and gaming facilities when the Commission finds that the uniqueness of a gaming facility operation and the public interest require that such rulings and findings are appropriate. The proposed rule reflects that language, allowing the Commission to impose such conditions, restrictions, limitation, or covenants upon a casino alcohol beverage license as the Commission may deem appropriate in its discretion to serve the best interest of gaming in the state, including allowing extended alcoholic service if the Commission deems it appropriate to do so under the circumstance. An additional comment was prematurely received from a State Liquor Authority certified alcohol training awareness program trainer who suggested requiring all servers to complete ATAP training and that all serving employees maintain a current certification. Commission staff reviewed the comment and believes that changes are unnecessary as all casino licensees will conduct or have conducted specific alcoholic beverage service training as part of their employee training, and the proposed rule requires servers to remain current with certifications. Staff recommends the Commission adopt this rulemaking as proposed in the State Register.
Commissioners, any questions on the proposed rulemaking?
Who asked for it?
Yeah, who asked for it? Who was the last comment from?
No, I mean, I know who the last comment was, but who asked for the change?
The initial comment was from Rivers.
Rivers had asked the Commission to consider opening up from 4 to 8.
No, I don't know offhand whether they have.
They want to put in the rule
They-
having 4 to 8
Rivers?
rivers.
Okay.
And the way the structure of the proposed rule is, it would give the commission the ability in the context of a specific alcohol casino license to consider the facts and circumstances and make whatever superseding provisions to the alcohol beverage control law that might be appropriate for that particular facility.
And then they commented that they wanted more specificity, and now the staff is suggesting that that's unnecessary. We
Right.
have all the authority we need to make.
That the rule is broad
Correct.
enough to encompass what they want accomplished.
Correct. And it would be done, the specificity for their particular facility is contemplated to be accomplished in the particular license that will eventually be issued to that facility.
I'm interested by the parts they wanted to add. I mean, if it was just an extension of time, that would seem simple enough. There's a body of rules. Those rules say that it ends at 4. Why are they pulling out different concepts of what else they want? For instance, contests that involve alcohol beverages. They're permitted or not permitted at 3 versus 5, right? I mean, why did they go to the trouble to delineate these as an extension
You-
of
you-
the 4 a.m.?
You're asking me to answer what a particular entity thought when they were writing it. I just don't have that
I mean, it's pretty
capability.
specific.
Commissioner Crotty,
General concept.
those concepts are in the rule as we proposed in relation to complementary alcoholic beverage service, and that's meant to mirror some of the restrictions,
Right.
that are in the alcoholic beverage control law generally.
But the extension of time deals literally just with the extension of time. Whatever you said yes or no to
Yes,
beforehand would not change.
correct.
They're pulling it out differently, as if it needs to be addressed separately. Am I reading more into that's there?
Yeah,
Like, if they just wanted to be open from 4 to 8, why not just say, oh, now you can be open from 4 to 8?
Right.
They're highlighting these other things about contests and games, and, minors, why, I mean, presumably minors aren't allowed to drink now, right?
perhaps this
Not
is,
Is there an exemption from 4 to 8 a.m. I don't know about?
No.
Yeah, the casino.
perhaps this might address it.
Yeah.
So,
Close the loophole.
if the commission determined that you wanted to put hours thing explicitly in the rule,
Yeah.
you might want to accomplish it in a different fashion than the proposer suggested, and not put it section related to the various contest restrictions and things like that in connection with complimentary beverage service.
I presume they didn't do it on a whim, is really where I'm going. They put it in specifically. You don't know their motivation.
No,
but
I
perhaps
think
they-
that's better addressed to the individual commentator,
Okay.
who, if you'd like, I can certainly have him call you.
I guess maybe one way to ask the question is, if you have any idea what kind of reaction we expect from them when we adopt the rule as is?
Considering the rule does what they want to accomplish, I don't think it should be an issue.
But it's not saying that we're agreeing to 4, that you can serve alcohol from 4 to 8. It
Correct.
gives us
It's
ability,
the option.
right?
Gives us
Yeah.
some rulemaking authority.
Yeah.
Well,
And
of course,
we have
would
that.
only
We
ask
have
for that
that.
if you were planning on doing it, right?
Well,
Yes.
we don't.
That should be the presumption of the board.
But we're reserving the
I'm
discretion
not so sure that I agree with
to
that.
decide what's in
Then
the
why not
public
ask for it
interest.
all at once? The approval to do it along with the approval to have it.
Which just gives us the ability to rule on it should there be a request. Doesn't mean that we have to grant it. Some of us may be opposed to 4 to 8.
It was just interesting. I didn't understand it. I'm not proposing.
Are there any other questions?
No.
All right, hearing none, I will, with some trepidation, ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
May I have a second? I'll second it. Is anyone opposed to the approval of the motion?
No.
Then the motion carries. Rob, the next item?
For commission consideration or adoption of proposed additions to the general section of casino gaming regulations to address certain matters that statutes either direct the commission to regulate or give the commission discretion to regulate. The first of these amendments concerns a statutory requirement to provide the method of notice to be provided to an applicant, registrant, or licensee in regard to the release of information or data provided to the commission from any applicant, registrant, or licensee. The proposed rule sets forth posting on the Commission's website as to the method of such notice. The second of these amendments addresses how the Commission will interpret which gaming facility employees are subject to the prohibitions on employee wagering. The text of the proposed rule was published in the State Register on October 19th, meaning the public comment period expired on December 5th. No public comments were received. Staff recommends that the Commission adopt this proposed rulemaking as a permanent rule.
Are there any questions with regard to this rulemaking? Barry, you good?
Yep.
And may I have a motion to approve the rule?
So moved.
Second?
Sure.
Then the motion carries. Rob, will you call the next item,
Oh,
please?
did you vote on that?
Vote on it.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Rob, will you call the next item, please?
Sorry. For Commission consideration is adoption of a rule regarding standards for electronic table game systems. Electronic table games are similar to table games, but players make wagers through electronic systems rather than with dealers. The proposed rule addresses technical standards for the certification of such systems, sets forth requirements for communication protocol, system integrity, random number generators, maintenance of critical memory, player interface terminals, and notification in case of nonconformance. The text of the proposed rule was published in the State Register on October 19th, meaning the public comment period expired on December 5th. No public comments were received. Staff recommends that the Commission adopt this proposed rulemaking as a permanent rule.
Commissioners, any questions with regard to this rulemaking? May I have a motion then to adopt the rule?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Rob, we have a proposal for new rulemaking?
We do. For Commission consideration is a proposed revision to the thoroughbred pari-mutuel wagering rules in regard to show wagers. Current rules require show wagers to be offered in all races with 5 or more betting interests, except sweepstakes races. The proposal would make show wagers optional in all races of 4 or more betting interests. This change would help the racetracks minimize the risk of loss on a race with an anticipated heavy favorite, as a racetrack is required to pay a minimum of $2.10 on a $2 wager, regardless of how many bettors are in the pool and how many select the show horse. This occurrence is colloquially referred to as a minus pool. The Division of Horse Racing, Pari-mutuel Wagering, and Pari-mutuel Wagering formulated the proposal after discussion of the concern with representatives of the New York Racing Association. NYRA fully supports the proposal. Staff has also been informed that Finger Lakes Racetrack has no objection to the proposed rulemaking. Staff recommends that the Commission propose this rulemaking.
Are there any questions with regard to this proposed rulemaking? Rob, my understanding is that this is going to be put out for public comment, right?
Yes, this would get published in the State Register and go through a 45-day public comment period before we can consider further
So
action.
Commissioners,
It doesn't matter what the quality of the race is? It could be like a grade 1 versus...
That would be correct.
So why do you think, what's the entity, NYRA is for it and Finger Lakes is for it
Because of the potential liability that they may have when there's a minus pool. They're required by law right now to pay out. So on certain occasions, they will actually have not enough money to pay the wagers themselves and have to actually make up that money out of their own reserves in order to satisfy the state minimum requirement of $2.10.
Do you have a sense of how much that costs per year?
Ron, would you have any idea on that?
Yes, NYRA has indicated that over the last 5 years, they've lost $2,027,192 for an average of $405,000 a year, and minus breakage.
Can we take a look at what that means? Like, you say that, and I believe you, but, you know, they have a different way of defining losses sometimes, right?
Sure.
I'm not trying to be a jerk, that seems like a huge number they would have lost, right?
Well, yeah, but we could get the pool information, show what they paid out and what was actually put in.
I mean, I think we should make an informed decision before you go to rulemaking, if you're putting it out of rulemaking. I wouldn't mind waiting on this. just to understand what the number is. Is it that big a deal, Rob, if we wait?
You want to table it?
Just so we see what the math is. I mean,
Well,
if they're losing 400 grand, that's a lot of
Well,
money.
remember, I mean, you can still go to public comment on this one, and even at the next meeting in January, you wouldn't have the time frame that would have told in order to take up the rule again, so we can certainly get the information in the interim.
John, why don't we do that? Why don't we put it out for proposal, see what people are
I
saying?
think a lot of fraud.
Well, we have to, as a group, we have to remember what we're saying today.
All right.
When it comes in, if there are comments, and then Ron has the ability to get us more information,
Okay.
then we could table the vote then if we don't have it, or we'd have a more informed vote.
That's fine.
No, I agree with
wanna
you. I
revisit it, like,
absolutely,
know-
I agree.
Yeah. That's something you think we can get in the next, but by the next meeting, Ron?
Yes, they already had some data already available.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we should have it by the end of the week.
Oh, whenever, yeah. Before the next meeting, we did. Okay.
Then may I have a motion to propose the rule for public comment?
So,
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
The motion carries. Rob, would you call the next item, please?
And certainly for commission consideration is a proposed revision to the thoroughbred parimutuel wagering rules in regard to pick 5 and pick 6 wagers. Current rules prohibit a racetrack from displaying wagering information about pick 5 or pick 6 combinations other than will pays after the penultimate race in the sequence. The proposed revision would permit a racetrack to disclose publicly combinations wagered upon, the amounts wagered upon such combinations, the number of tickets sold, or the number of tickets that are still capable of winning a pick 5 or pick 6 pool. The Division of Horse Racing and Parimutuel Wagering formulated the proposal after discussion with the New York Racing Association, which supports the proposal. Staff is informed that Finger Lakes Racetrack has no objection to the proposal. The change is intended to enhance the overall interest in the pick 5 and pick 6 wagers. Staff recommends the commission propose this rulemaking.
Commissioners, any quips? Sorry.
What are they gonna show? What are they
What
gonna show?
They would show, for instance, how much was wagered into each on different odds or different combinations and how many tickets are still alive.
For race like after which race?
After each, they would be able to illustrate what the pools are and also how many tickets are still available. I think the main interest will be, as it goes through, how many live tickets there are on each particular entry.
Right. The last couple of
Yep.
legs, maybe. In the beginning.
It will be large. Yeah, it would be large, well, obviously until the first race is run.
But they would have discretion as
Yeah.
to which races they want
Right, the
to
last race, they
demonstrate.
show
Yeah.
it now, and
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
So maybe a little earlier, you could drum up some excitement.
Any obligation to.
I was just wondering what.
Right,
they
it's
think
just,
about it.
it's just a public information element that they've been prohibited from doing before.
Any other discussion?
How would you do it after the third race?
John?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm just wondering, how would you do it? You did 3 legs of a pick 6, and you have 3 legs left, there's just say 7 horses in each one of those races.
Well, I mean, mathematically, the wager's already
7
ended,
times 6 times 5, number of outcomes, right, at that point? Is that how that works?
but the wagering element is already closed on that race.
Right.
So it's just a matter of
Well,
seeing
what-
what's alive for each particular leg.
Okay.
So it's not like it's a moving target. Once that first
So they
race,
tell you in the 4th leg, there's this many horses alive with this much money bet on it?
correct,
Or as many betting
interest.
wagers, yeah.
But, right, in a multi-event bet, it doesn't matter sort of in that leg, it matters what's connected in that leg to the other 2 legs,
Mhm.
right?
So you may say after the 4th race of a pick 6, there are 600 tickets still alive, and then after the 5th leg, there are 20 tickets still alive. You know, if you have a large carryover pool, it may create, some interest in.
Creates excitement.
I mean, it sounds like a great idea, I physically don't know how, I mean, I know he can do it with a computer, but I mean, it's a lot of tickets, right, running through.
Yeah, Ron, is this being done in California right now?
Yeah, it's being done in a few states, California, Florida, Kentucky. And it's really just, how many people won the first race, second race, third race, fourth race that would be alive. So it's not really a difficult mathematical process.
It's looking backwards, not looking forwards?
Yeah, because
Oh.
everybody's already paid in.
Right, I think, yeah.
May I have a motion to propose the rule for, this is for public comment, right?
That is correct.
Right. May I have a motion to propose the rule for public comment?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. I think that brings us to the adjudication.
It does.
The next item is scheduled business regards adjudication. Today we have one item for adjudication. Rob, would you please describe the item?
On June 17th, 2016, the Commission's Bureau of Licensing issued a notice of license suspension and ordered the immediate temporary suspension of the lottery sales agent license of Whitestone Auto Center, Inc., located at 150-55 Cross Island Parkway. The notice informed Whitestone that the suspension was for fraud, deceit, misrepresentation, or conduct prejudicial to the public confidence in the state lottery. Specifically, the notice stated that the owner of record, Luigi Romano, had been indicted by the United States District Court in the Southern District of New York for conspiracy to commit murder for hire in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1958 and use of a firearm for murder for hire conspiracy in violation of 18 U.S.C. 924 C1 and 924 C2. The notice stated that the suspension could become a revocation unless Whitestone Auto Center requested a hearing. Pursuant to New York Tax Law Section 1607D, a lottery license may be suspended or revoked for fraud, deceit, misrepresentation, or conduct prejudicial to the public confidence in the state lottery. A lottery license may be suspended or revoked upon a finding by the Commission that the lottery agent's experience, character, and general fitness are such that the agent's participation as a lottery sales agent is inconsistent with the public interest or convenience or for any other reason within the discretion of the Commission. After request by Whitestone, a hearing was conducted on September 14th. The hearing officer submitted a report to the Commission's acting secretary, which was received on November 14th. The hearing officer recommends that the license be revoked and that the period of the date of suspension to the Commission's decision be from the date of suspension to the Commission's decision to suspension of the license. The Commission considered this matter at a meeting conducted pursuant to the judicial or quasi-judicial proceedings exemption of Public Officers Law, Section 108.1.
The Commission deliberated and considered this matter and determined by unanimous vote to sustain the hearing officer's report and recommendations. The next order of business is old business. I don't think there's any on the agenda.
There's none.
Does anyone have any business to consider under old business? Hearing none. We have also no items that I'm aware of on new business. Anyone else have items of new business they'd like considered? Barry, you good?
Yep.
Hearing none. We have a scheduling item. I understand that we need a couple of dates. Is that right?
Yeah, traditionally, we meet on the fourth Monday of each month, which this month would require another meeting on December 26th.
Yeah. If we don't have urgent business, do we want to schedule in January instead?
Yes.
January 23rd, does that work for everybody? January 23rd,
It
2017?
23rd, and it probably doesn't work for you guys. Isn't that Martin Luther King Day?
No, no.
I think it's a week before.
That might be the week before, I think.
Yeah, like,
I'm in Kelvin.
I gotta send you some study notes, Karate.
What's that?
I gotta
What's
send
that?
you some study notes.
Study notes.
Hey, Kristen, maybe what we can do is ask you to just circulate a couple of dates that might work, because we all really would like to have Commissioner Karate here with us.
That's
Okay. All right.
King Day's the 16th.
That concludes.
King Day's the 16th.
Okay.
Yeah, that concludes our published agenda. Do any commissioners have items they would like to present for consideration?
Thank you.
Hearing none. This meeting is adjourned.